Big 12 Media Day is right around the corner. Everything that you need to know from an Arizona perspective.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
The show is brought to you by Gametime. Check it out. All right, Big 12 Media Day is right around the corner. Very much looking forward to this because there are a lot of very, very intriguing storylines for the U of A. And then tomorrow we're going to talk kind of around the Big 12, and we're going to talk about the Big 12 a little bit today, obviously, as well. But first, Arizona. We talked about it last show. Arizona goes into this Big 12 Media Day and this Big 12 season with pressure to win now. Arizona has got to win football games now. And again, the reason why is very straightforward. In Arizona, you don't have a history, you don't have a long history of sustained success. As a matter of fact, you have next to no history of sustained success. And this is a team where you're probably not going to get these type of players around again, at least in the next year or two. So you need to be able to have, you need to be able to put those kind of expectations out there. And again, Brent Brennan has been a head coach for long enough that there shouldn't be this massive transition. His OC has been coaching for a long time. His DC has been coaching for a long time as well. So again, there's a lot to like about this team. There's a lot of talent, and Arizona needs to come out, and they need to come out swinging right out of the gate. Now, the four guys that Arizona are taking with them: Noah Fifita, Taroa McMillan, and Jacob Manu, and Gunnar Maldonado. So what are we looking to see from all of those guys? First, with Noah Fifita, everybody knows who Noah Fifita is now, and that's a good thing, because Noah Fifita is fantastic. Noah Fifita, I think, is going to leave here as what maybe the most beloved player in U of A football history. That's how beloved I think he's going to be. You got to keep in mind the story. 5'7" QB, came here from without a ton of hype, obviously, or was really, really good high school player, but super, super short, obviously. And then comes to U of A, red shirts, and then became pretty apparent very early on that he was better than Jaden DeLaura, but Jed Fish clearly had some kind of favoritism, skepticism in place, and really didn't want to play Noah Fifita. But Noah Fifita basically forced his way onto the football field, and once Noah Fifita forced his way onto the football field, he never came off. That's how good he was, and he was kind of perfect. Again, there weren't like, it wasn't like he was absolute, perfect's too strong of a term. But, when he was in there was a coolness, there was a calmness about the offense that you just felt really, really good about with him in there. And if a player became open, they generally got the ball. It was a nice little thing. It was a nice little thing to see. Then he took the offense, obviously, to a next level, because all of a sudden players were getting open. That opened up the running game as well. And whenever, when the game was close, you just got the sense that Noah Fifita was going to be able to do something, to be able to make a play, to be able to make something happen. And he almost always did. That's what was amazing. I mean, we look at it from the, Colorado game, didn't play great, but guess what? Down the stretch, made the plays that needed to be made. Against Oklahoma, did the same exact thing. Heck, when he came in for his first action against Stanford, did the exact same thing. Arizona was just, you just felt comfortable when he was out there, and I think that Arizona fans certainly can see somebody that's probably going to be a legend in the making, and I expect him to have a huge year. And if he doesn't have a huge year, then I think we have immediate concerns about Dino Babers in the offense, because everything is set up for him to have a really good year. And so we'll obviously see on that one, but I don't know that there's a quarterback in the country that I would take over Noah Fafita. I think he's that good. And I think that he just has a leadership. He has a moxie quality to him that just not a lot of quarterbacks have. I think it's one of those things, you either have it or you don't. Like I said, I'm going to keep bringing up the comment from Greg Biggins where he said that, Noah Fafita is the one quarterback in all of college football or all of high school football that he's seen that if he needed somebody to drive his team down the field and score, it would be Noah Fafita. That's who he would take. And honestly, I would agree with him as well. In college, I think he's going to, he's fantastic. And I think he's going to play in the NFL. I really do. I don't care if he's 5'1" or if he's 6'1". I think he's going to play in the NFL because he can make all the throws and he doesn't really get passes batted down at the line of scrimmage. He's able to make, he's able to maneuver the pocket. He's able to make plays in such a manner that you feel really good about those, about possibility. Now with T-Mac. T-Mac's probably one of the 4 or 5 best football players to ever play at the U of A. I mean, he is just a next level player. There's a reason that he's on top 10 NFL draft charts. Players like T-Mac don't come around the U of A. I believe he's already the best player in U of A history. And honestly, I'm not even sure that it's I believe he's the best wide receiver in U of A history. And at this point, I don't even think it's close. He is I always was partial to Dennis Northcutt, but this dude's different. He can high point the ball. The new term that everybody loves, the catch radius, is absolutely fantastic. His hands are amazing. He's about as good a jump ball wide receiver threat as you're ever going to see. And he projects as a day one NFL starter. I mean, there was a reason that he was a 5-star wide receiver coming out of high school. And Arizona, to Jed Fish's credit, did a very good job of continuing to recruit him. And he was massive last year, 1,400 yards, 12 touchdowns. I think as long as his foot is healthy and ready to go, he should be a first-team All-American. I believe he's the best wide receiver in the country. It'll be interesting to see at Media Day. How's he moving around? Because, again, he was in a boot just a couple weeks ago. But how is he moving around now? When is he going to be cleared for full contact? All of that stuff. But I also would imagine, too, that it's not going to take him a long time to be able to kind of get back into game shape, to be able to get into game form. Because, again, he just has an inherent skill when it comes to football to be able to – just to be able to catch the football. I mean, that's really the best way to it. Those hands are next level. Those are as good a hands as you'll find anybody in the NFL as well. And we've seen it with circus catch after circus catch. He is like I said, he is a dynamic football player. He's a football player that, will be in the NFL at this time next year. So enjoy this last year. And that's another reason why I continuously say that Arizona has got to win big this year, because you're going to be losing players like T-Mac most likely to the NFL. And, with this roster, who knows who's going to be on it next year. So you win 9 or 10 games, then I think that you're in pretty good shape if you're the U of A to be able to at least replace some of these players. But T-Mac, like I said, T-Mac is going to go down as one of the handful of best football players to ever play here. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if he's a perennial Pro Bowler at the next level. I mean, he's just that good. He is that T-Mac's just that dude. As the kids like saying, T-Mac is that guy. And I look for him to have a really big year. Like I said, just got to make sure that he's healthy. But other than that, look for him to have a really, really big year. Now, we're going to flip over to the defensive side of the ball in a second, because there's a lot of very, very interesting storylines. But first, Game Time. Check it out, my friends. Game Time. Download the Game Time app today. Use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, great thing about Game Time, it's very simple. You go to Game Time and you know that you're going to be able to get into concerts. You're going to be able to get into different events. And Game Time is going to get you a very good deal in the process. So again, download the Game Time app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege. And again, like I said, not just for football or not just for sporting events. You can use these for concerts as well. Another one of these ones where you will thank me later. Download the Game Time app today. Use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now let's move over to the defensive side of the ball. It's going to be interesting to see with Jacob Manu and Gunnar Maldonado. All right, well, first of all, with Jacob Manu, he is I believe Jacob Manu is going to play in the NFL. I really do. The days of having to be the 6'3", 245-pound linebacker, I think are done because, again, with the way that the league is now and it's such a passing heavy league, I think you need guys that can move around. Jacob Manu is incredibly instinctual and he can make plays at the line of scrimmage. He can make plays downfield. He can make plays in the backfield. He's just all over the place. And I think last year proved what kind of football player he is because he was able to do just that. With Manu, just so much of it is watching him and just seeing how naturally football comes to him. If he was he's a lot like Noah Fafita. If he was 6'1", he would probably be, at Alabama or a school like that. But he's not 6'1", but he's still incredibly instinctive. And you watch him and you just know that that's what an All-American linebacker is supposed to look like. I expect him to leave here I expect him to leave here in that, that Sean Harris, that Marcus Bell, just kind of that tackle machine, inside linebacker role. And you look at his stats at the end, and you're like, whoa, okay. He had a very, very nice, productive career at the University of Arizona. Jacob Manu, though, like we said, total stud. Know exactly what you're going to get from him. I'm excited to see, what he thinks is the next step to his game, to be able to, because last year he made a lot of plays up near the line of scrimmage, which was obviously awesome. And in the backfield, what's the next step then for Jacob Manu? I'm curious to see what he says. And, Dwayne Aquina is going to have a more attacking style defense. So what does Dwayne Aquina want to see from Jacob Manu as well? There's just a lot of really fascinating angles to be able to hit there. And Jacob Manu is certainly that. Jacob Manu is, one of the faces of this program. It's going to be fun to watch him. And another one that was just an awesome, awesome get by the previous coaching staff. Then Gunnar Maldonado. My bad, Gunnar. Okay, so with Gunnar Maldonado, I apologize because last year I could not understand why does Gunnar Maldonado keep playing every time every time there was a big play, it always seemed that he was the one getting burned. But as the year went on, obviously Gunnar Maldonado and the defense figured things out, and he became a force at the end. He was making tackles. He was, he was getting up near the line of scrimmage. He was forcing huge plays. I mean, heck, that Alamo Bowl game against Alabama, he was a one-man wrecking. Oklahoma. He was a one-man wrecking crew, and it was just incredibly impressive to watch how it all unfolded. He is like I said, he is a monster. He is a player that you watch him and you're like, man, that's what a big time college safety looks like. I don't think that he's probably going to play in the NFL, but I do think that he is like I said, I think he's going to leave here as a very beloved figure. I also got to give, the coaching staff a ton of credit for being able to maximize him. He is watching him, that he just gets it. He's strong, he's physical, and it's super exciting that he is coming back for another year. All the safeties, with obviously Gunnar Maldonado, Dalton Johnson, Traden Stukes, and Genesis Smith, all really, really good football players. And Gunnar Maldonado is clearly one of the more popular players on the team. That's why the coaching staff brought him with. And like I said, I'm curious to see what he thinks about his progression last year, where he is, and what he thinks about kind of what that next step is for him, not only for him, but, for this defense, and what he thinks is going to be the difference playing in the Dwayne Aquina defense as well, and what made him come back, and maybe some of that solidarity that he kind of has in that safety room. Because, again, Dalton Johnson, really, really good. Gunnar Maldonado, really, really good. Genesis Smith, probably going to play in the NFL. So these Those three safeties, all very, very impressive. I'm excited to see what they say. I'm also excited to see just kind of what everybody thinks about Dwayne Aquina stepping into this role. Because again, Dwayne Aquina was off to Texas. Brent Brennan takes the job, and Dwayne Aquina comes back. Now, the little secret in the room is that Dwayne Aquina did not like Jedd Fisch. Neither did Johnny Nansen. They were not fans of Jedd Fisch, and that's why they both bolted. But Aquina obviously likes Brent Brennan. He's being given the task of the entire defense. I have no problem with that. You can just look at how the defense totally improved last year and just kind of where everything is. Big fan of what Arizona is able to do with Dwayne Aquina. Now, when it comes to expectations, I'm going to keep hammering this and hammering this and hammering this. You got to win. Period. This is it's a different situation than most first-year coaches inherit. I get it. But again, you got a loaded roster. This isn't Kenny Dillingham taking over ASU where you have no talent. This is a loaded roster. This is a roster that needs to be able to win and needs to be able to win from day one. And I think there's a very good chance that they will be able to win from day one, but it's got to happen. And like I said, it makes Brent Brennan's job a lot easier. If you got a couple back-to-back 10-win seasons, then you can say, listen, this is what we did. I think Alonzo Carter is a good recruiter, and it will make his job a lot easier. It will make his job a ton easier if they can sit here and bank on that, hey, listen, this is what we've done. We'll look at our track record. Look where we are going forward. I think it makes everybody's life a lot easier. I'm excited to see what this coaching staff can do. But again, you got to be able to win. You've got talent. You're probably not going to get players like this again. So there's going to be a lot of expectations on Brent Brennan. So, the people that are like, well, his first year coach, this and that, can't have 7 wins. 7 wins, no good for me. Got to be able to get at that 9 wins minimum. That's where I'm at, 9 wins minimum. Then you can get into that 10-win realm. Who knows? But I think and we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but I think the Big 12 is very, very good, but I think there's also a real opportunity for Arizona to be able to win this conference in year one. And if you can obviously win that conference in year one, then then you're really, really cooking with fire, cooking with grease, cooking with gas, all of that stuff. But it's got to happen, though. Go on the football field. It's got to happen. Now, let's take a look around the Big 12 and get you a little bit ready for tomorrow as well, coming up next. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. Okay, now let's talk about let's talk about the expectations for Arizona, or for kind of around the Big 12. Again, I think this is a really good football league. Last year you had last year it was kind of you kind of knew that, things were going to happen. And the swan song for the Pac-12 was awesome. It was a really, really good season, obviously. But that's in the rear view. And Arizona played very, very well, but now you're going into the Big 12. To me, there's about 6 teams that are clearly better than everybody else. And that is Kansas and Kansas State. Listen, with Lance Leopold, I think Lance Leopold is probably about as good a coach as there is in the country, just doing more with less. And he's done a very, very nice job. Obviously, you have a dynamic running back, quarterback situation. They've just got to stay healthy. But he's going to be, but they're very, very good, obviously. Then you've also got Kansas State under Chris Kleiman. Done a great job. You've got the running back coming in from Colorado, who I think's got a lot of potential. And he decided to get out of Deonville and Avery Johnson. I think Avery Johnson's going to be really, really good, but we still need to see it. Both those teams are, as long as those coaches are there, both those teams I think are going to be perennially solid. I think they're good fits. I think they're good culture guys for those programs. And honestly, I think that they're going to be both top 25 programs. I like them both a great deal. I think that they're in both really good hands, and I think they both have really, really good coaches. And they got coaches that have clearly shown that they can use maximize the talent that is around them. And then you've got, obviously, Utah. Utah's picked to win the conference. Kyle Whittingham's probably the best coach in the conference, but there's also going to be some stuff to watch. There's going to be some stuff to watch with Utah. Cam Rising, going to keep coming back to that. Cam Rising, is he ready to go? If Cam Rising's ready to go, then I think Arizona is going to be in really, really good shape. Arizona, but Utah will be in really good shape. But again, he hasn't played in 2 years. That's a long time off, and I keep coming back to that point. That is a long time off, and I think people are poo-pooing that, and probably shouldn't be poo-pooing that because, again, this is a position that we've seen where quarterbacks that have to take a year plus off sometimes just aren't the same. Look at Mackenzie Melton at UCF. After he had that gruesome injury, was just not the same and wasn't able to play anymore. We'll find out about Cam Rising, but you saw last year when he wasn't in there, they weren't good. Now you got Heward in. I get all that, so you got a better backup option at this point. But I trust Kyle Whittingham, but there's still obviously some major questions at that quarterback position. Then you've got Iowa State. Matt Campbell, it'll be interesting to see if he can build on it. Obviously, a dynamic young quarterback. I think they're in the mix. They are, in my opinion, they are clearly sixth, though, out of the top five teams. Iowa State, I think, is sixth. But I think they're also the team that I think they're closer to that top five than they are to the other teams in the conference. Then Oklahoma State. Running backs in some trouble, obviously. I like Mike Gundy a great deal. Watching Mike Gundy, you know that these teams are generally every other year, they'll be in the top 25, and every fifth year, they are going to probably put together a top 5 to 10 season. He is, besides Kyle Whittingham, I think he's clearly the most accomplished coach in the conference. And like I said, just a guy that I think is fun to watch, fun to cover, and a guy I think that generally just in life gets it. Big fan of his, but those are the teams that you really need to keep an eye for as far as being at the top of the conference. And I think that's where you got to keep that in mind if you're the U of A. Now, with going around the rest of the conference, ASU picked dead last. The problem with ASU is they just don't have any talent. Maybe they have a few good players here or there, but you look at it, there's a reason that nobody on that team was picked to be all conference. I think it's hard to win at all when you have nobody that is viewed as an all-conference player on your team. And a big part of this will come down to Sam Leavitt good. If Sam Leavitt is good, then I think then they're in some pretty good shape. But I also don't know that Sam Leavitt is good, and I don't think anybody knows. Now, the running back situation with Scattaboo, but also question marks about, just question marks all the way around. You lost Elijah Badger, obviously. So we'll see, but there's just not a lot of talent there. I absolutely love seeing Dion picked to finish 11th in the conference. The media not buying into Colorado and the hype this year. Vegas is not either, but we'll see. Like I said, we'll see with Dion. There's certainly going to be some more talent there, but also you're bringing in basically 85 new players. I mean, over the last 2 years, I don't know if you can win that way from a roster continuity perspective, but who knows? Maybe you can. I just do not see it. Okay, but tomorrow we're going to break down the Big 12 in depth. Then what are all the storylines? We're going to talk a lot about Brett Yormark as well. Storylines surrounding Brett Yormark, where he is, what he can, what the Big 12, what the future of the Big 12 is, and what his goals are. And we're going to talk about the teams on Arizona's schedule, what you need to know, who are the players, who are the big-time guys, and all of that stuff. But again, lots of stuff, lots of storylines at Big 12 Media Day for the University of Arizona. But on that note, always appreciate you all making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Mike Luke. Bear down, back the A, and we will be back with you tomorrow.